And with Senator Braun running for governor, this week Congressman Jim Banks officially filed his campaign to run for Braun's seat in the Senate. And I spoke with Banks one-on-one on Friday to talk about his campaign and about some of the biggest issues making news in Congress as he launches his run for U.S. Senate. What are you hoping to accomplish if voters do send you to the U.S. Senate?
Well, I hope to accomplish even more, to serve the whole state, and in the United States Senate. There's so much more that you can do. It's been an honor of my life to serve Northeast Indiana, but I love my state, I love my country. Mike Braun running for governor opens up the Senate seat, and it's a great opportunity to step up to the plate and serve in a bigger way.
What are the issues you're hoping to prioritize?
You know, really the same. I believe China is the biggest threat to America today, economically, militarily. I've been focused on that threat in the House, on the Armed Services Committee. I'm on the new committee focused on our competition with China. So those issues are important. The border is the biggest issue facing our country today, a wide open border, drugs flowing over our southern border in an unprecedented way, fentanyl, the leading cause of death of Americans my age. And I talk to families all over the state of Indiana who have been impacted by that. We have to secure the border, and it takes going back to the strong border policies of the Trump administration to do that. So that's got to be a top focus. And then we have inflation, the rising cost of groceries and gas, and mortgages on average today are twice what they were before Joe Biden took office. So those are real issues that affect real people. And when I get to the Senate, that's what I'm going to fight for.
I want to ask you about the border and immigration. That's been a big issue in the news. Governor Holcomb is actually at the border this weekend with a group of Republican governors. But when it comes to our two current U.S. senators, they've kind of taken a different approach right now on this bipartisan immigration deal that's being crafted in the Senate. Right here on this program, Senator Braun told me, why would we do a deal that's going to be helping him, referring to the president, while Senator Young said it would be tragic if such a deal were held up for campaign purposes. If you were in the Senate right now, would you support the notion of getting a deal done to help with this situation at the border?
Well, my advice to both of the senators is to pass the very strong House bill that we passed a year ago, H.R. 2, that builds the wall. It goes back to Trump's Remain in Mexico policy and stops.
But that doesn't have enough votes in the Senate, being a democratically controlled Senate currently.
Well, it's a negotiation between the House and the Senate. The House passed it a long time ago, and it's just sat in the Senate without them doing anything with it. Right now, they're supposedly negotiating something in the Senate that deals with Ukraine aid, Israel aid, and the border, but we've seen no details. And this is frustrating for me as a member of the House, but it's frustrating for America because the border is wide open. 10 million illegals have come into our country on Joe Biden's watch. That's more than the entire population of our state of Indiana. Drugs and crime coming with it. Pass H.R. 2, it's as simple as that. It's there waiting for the Senate to act upon it. If it doesn't have the support, then send something over to the House so that we can keep the process moving. And so far, the Senate hasn't done that.
You've been close with President Trump here in recent years. This week you were on social media saying Nikki Haley wasn't going to qualify for the ballot here in Indiana, that she didn't have enough signatures. She could be short in the 7th district. We'll see. This isn't all final yet. How do you respond to her assertion that she will indeed be on the ballot?
Well, every day that Nikki Haley is in the race at this point, she's helping Joe Biden. She's not going to win a single state in the country on the Republican primary ballot. It doesn't make any sense to me why she's still in the race, and we have good reason to believe that she won't be on the ballot in Indiana, that she's short in a couple of districts, and even if it's close, there's a challenge period to go through. She's very short, and if she didn't take Indiana more seriously than that to get well enough, more of the signatures that she needs, it just goes to show to me that she's not a serious candidate. I mean, her own state primary, Donald Trump's going to win South Carolina. He's going to be the nominee, and Republicans need to rally around him to beat Joe Biden in November. And I hope Nikki Haley drops out today. I hope she drops out on Tuesday. Drop out soon. Endorse Donald Trump. And let's get Donald Trump back in the White House to secure the border, hold China accountable, get America strong and healthy again with our economy, and get our country back on track. That's what it's all about.
Are you concerned about his electability at all, especially if he were to be convicted later this year?
Every single poll that has come out in recent weeks has shown Donald Trump handily beating Joe Biden on a ballot test between the two. I believe strongly.
Some polls have shown the opposite in recent days, too.
I've seen no polls in the last week or so that don't show Donald Trump leading Joe Biden. Maybe
Quinnipiac
there are.
had Biden ahead this week, but there have been a mix of polls. Yeah.
The polls suggest that Donald Trump is in a very strong position to win in November, and I believe that he will.
When it comes to your race for the Senate, you've been endorsed by the state Republican Party, but you could potentially face a challenge in the primary if candidate John Rust is able to qualify for the ballot. He's been up on the air with TV ads. Later this month, the state Supreme Court will hold a hearing on the issue at hand over his prior party affiliations, whether or not that'll impact his ability to get on the ballot. How prepared is your campaign to deal with a potential primary challenge if he does qualify?
We have 3 months to go before the Republican primary. We're in a strong position to win. Endorsed by Donald Trump, the state Republican Party, Republicans, every single county in the state I have Republicans backing me. John Rust is a lifelong Democrat who had to sue the state to strike down the laws to allow him to run as a Republican. And that's very, we don't know a lot about him, but we know that he's a lifelong Democrat. Hoosier Republicans aren't looking for a Democrat to represent them in Washington and the Senate. So we're in a strong position to win. I don't know what the Supreme Court will do. I don't know a lot about John Rust. I know his business was just convicted of price gouging by a federal grand jury in Illinois, corruptly raising the price of eggs on Hoosier families. This guy doesn't belong anywhere near the United States Senate. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we beat him in the May primary and then be Indiana's next conservative senator after the election in November 2.
You've had a lot to say about his candidacy, but also about his residency, claiming he had the wrong address on his voter registration. He responded and said he used his mother's address for mailing purposes because he lives in a rural area, but he also kind of hit back talking about your home in Virginia, saying, quote, Congressman Banks lives in Virginia and he's worried about my address. He said they're grasping at straws and that they're scared to death of me. What's your response to that? Are you concerned at all about how voters might feel about your decision to have a home near D.C. when you serve in Congress? There have been prior senators, Lugar and Bayh, who both seem to deal eventually with some political backlash to their decisions to live near D.C.
Yeah.
Does that concern you?
John Rust is lying. He's lied about everything. My home is in Columbia City, Indiana. I own a home in Columbia City, Indiana. That's my residence. I've been elected by Northeast Indiana to go to Washington and serve them. I have 3 daughters, 14, 12, and 10 years old. And how dare John Rust, he and his husband lie about where they live on their voter registration forms, have lied about it, and he lied about it under oath when he was testifying in a recent court case about where they live, attack me, having a young family going with me to Washington, D.C. to serve my country. How dare he attack me when he and his husband lie about where they live? I will never apologize for having my family with me when I serve my country in Washington, D.C.
All right, more of that interview with Jim Banks next week. But up next, we'll talk about another member of Congress leaving the House of Representatives, or is she actually staying? We'll talk with our panel about what's next for Victoria Spartz, plus the latest controversy at the State House involving Representative Jim Lucas. We'll show you the video that's now making national news straight ahead.